Yo, in the back. What up, dude?
So, me and a couple friends were having a discussion about this at the bar last night. Are traps gay?
What?
Are traps gay? No, genuine question.
So yeah, we are going to talk about Jesse Cox. Because it's been bugging me, to be honest. Jesse. Somebody I've watched for years. Picked up on him from TB, actually. The Cynical Brit and the Co-Optional Podcast. I hadn't watched those in a long time. I don't know what they're doing or what they're into or what their beliefs are anymore. Because I honestly hadn't really watched them in, I guess, better part of a couple of years now. A lot of things have blown up since then. The way that TB has reacted to Trump and the way his wife apparently voted that he didn't like and all this other stuff, which has, made me see him in a negative light compared to what I used to think about them. But this is about Jesse. I remember when CoxCon was nothing more than a joke. Gonna hold our own con. Gonna call it CoxCon. Yeah, it was just a joke, and then eventually they got big enough to where they could actually pull it off, and it happened. Would I go to it? Probably not. Just because I don't go to any cons. But, would I like to go to a con? Yes. Not necessarily CoxCon. But, what has happened is, Jesse wrote a very long, lengthy thing about what happened this last CoxCon 2017. So, the question that sparked the controversy that really shouldn't have happened was, are traps gay? What is a trap? The whole thing is pretty much a meme coming from the anime gaming culture. Essentially, you've got an attractive young man who looks like a woman. Or you have the reverse, a woman who is dressed and tried to make themselves look like a man. For whatever the reason is, whether they're trying to disguise that they're a man, trying to disguise that they're a woman or a man for whatever reason, it tends to generally be assumed that they are the opposite sex. And then something will happen and it will reveal that they're not this sex that everybody thought they were, and it's suddenly a shock, but everybody gets over it. The question derives from, does this make you gay because you found it attractive? The answer to that honestly depends on how you feel after you find out. If you still find them attractive, although you know that they're a man, and you're a man, then chances are you might be a little gay, to be honest. That is the whole crux of this whole thing. And of course, all this can be applied vice versa. Woman, all that good stuff. But, this became a controversy. And he released a statement. And we're just going to sort of jump into this statement, pieces of it anyway, and talk about it. But, to be honest, it shouldn't have been a controversy. But yeah. He's speaking about it now. At this con, this past July, an incident occurred that, despite my hopes would blow over, has not. I figured if I said nothing, the reason would roll out and people would conclude that the whole thing was stupid and blown way out of proportions by the people who did not attend. It has, but needlessly strained on my friends and staff who run the con, so as the owner and founder, as the person whose name is on the convention, I owe it all to them to finally speak up. Alright, let's talk about that for a second. First off, you probably should have spoke up and said something about this, 4 or 5 months ago, back in July when the incident occurred. not months later. As for it being blown out of proportion by the people who did not attend, no. It was blown out of proportion by the people who were in the convention, mainly TB and whoever else was backing him. When it all happened, I remember TB went on a twatter rampage, about finding out who this guy was so they could kick his ass out. Over a silly question, a meme of no less. And that is where the controversy comes from. It has nothing to do with the question itself. It's not how the people who did not attend react. It's how you and your staff reacted, how you went silent and TB took the reins and got rid of this guy, hunted him down, doxed him or whatever, and threw him out of a convention. When all this guy did was ask a joke meme, something that you yourself in the past have joked about and talked about, and probably, if I remember correctly, answered on one of the co-optional podcasts. But let's go. Let's continue. In the opening Q&A of CoxCon, an event we have done every year to welcome everyone back and open the floor to fans expressing themselves, a young man asked the question, "Are traps gay?" Firstly, as a full-fledged member of the internet, I am aware of the meme nature of the question. Obviously, you should be. But your silence about this whole debacle afterwards is where there's issues. But for those of you who don't know, a trap could be defined as a man while dressing like a woman appears very attractive, or a pre-op trans woman who is very attractive. I'm sure there are other possible better definitions, and the trap part being finding that this person attractive only to find out that they have a penis. So the question essentially is it gay finding a female person with a penis who hides their penis from you attractive, or something along those lines? It is as stupid as it sounds. That whole thing sounds as stupid as it sounds. I already pretty much defined what a trap was earlier. And to be honest, this whole idea of traps being trans isn't a thing. I'm sure some people have used that as a defense or something, but as for the normal world, transsexuals make up about 0.3% or something like that. This number is increased when you add cross-dressing and other things into the mix, which makes it seem like there's a trans person almost everywhere. In reality, a number of people probably have never met a trans person. Or if they have, it was after the surgery. But to be totally honest, when it comes to it, most people, even internet culture people, like myself, may have never run into a trans before, and we've never even thought of "Are traps gay?" have anything to do with trans people, and honestly, it seems to be more like something they have thought up themselves, because they were never in the know to begin with when it comes to internet culture and the memeing nature of things. And because of that, they then pass it around as some big bad wolf, essentially, that never actually existed on the internet, to make it into a big bad wolf, when it was really nothing more than a silly meme based in anime gaming culture, essentially. But anyway, we'll continue. With that said, then I am very aware that because of the nature of the question, despite what many people have contested, this wasn't asked as a genuinely curiosity. This question asked was a young man. The question asker was a young man who saw his chance to make a risque joke on a live stream broadcast Q&A to get some kind of reaction, be it from me or the crowd. It's as simple as that. And you know what? It probably is. And he got a reaction. The crowd laughed, and you were like, "What? What?" And then threw out a BS question or answer. Which, is fine, because I'm pretty sure that's what he was aiming for. This has been a meme on the co-optional podcast in the past. Take it from somebody like me who hasn't seen it in maybe 2 years, and I show up at CoxCon for the first time, not ever actually watching y'all in years or something, and then ask that question because a couple of years ago it was a relative meme that y'all laughed about years ago. If you've changed your stance from that and haven't talked about it on said cast, then nobody's going to know that your stance has changed, and they're going to blurt that out expecting you to laugh and give either a serious answer or a BS answer. But anyway, back to the event. When the question was asked, I generally did not hear it. Please look at the video. It's out there to watch. I did not know what he said at all. In fact, I had problems with many of the questions in the back due to the mic audio. It happened more than just him if you watch the entire Q&A. Anyway, despite not hearing him, what I did hear and see were people in the front rows literally mouthing, "Do not answer that," and cringing. So I tried to avoid the question with a stupid politician response to move things along. Well, I can't sit there and tell you if that's true or not. I honestly can't. What I can do is watch the footage, add it here somewhere, and you can hear the crowd react to it, and they laugh. A majority of the crowd laughs at it because they caught it. They got it. They understood the whole meme nature of it and all that good stuff. And as for not hearing it, that's fine. We can go and be a pass on that. I mean, you did stop for a second and go, "What?" Almost as if at first you didn't hear it, but you did hear it, and it's processing, and you just don't want to answer it because of your stance on things. And I know a lot of this from back when it happened stemmed from some other person who was in the event, who I don't really know. Apparently, she is trans, and she got upset at it and cried to TB, which started his tirade on things. But that's a whole other thing altogether. I know, at this point, you're probably wondering, "Jesse, you're apparently Mr. Internet. Why couldn't you make out what he was saying or figure out what he was going on?" Because contextually, the concept of the meme has never been a thing I've ever associated with on my channel, in my content, or anything I have ever done. It's not something I can imagine bringing up in a Let's Play, so him randomly bringing it up in a Q&A is something I wouldn't have expected. You find after doing as many Q&As as I have done, nearly every question related to you or your life, since this is neither something I've considered part of my life or part of my content, I couldn't even have fathomed that this question has been asked. I don't understand what any of that has to do with the beans in China. Q&A is a Q&A. It may not be related to you. It may be just a joke and expecting you to joke back. As for you never associating with it, you did. In a co-optional podcast that I know of. I just have to go find it, and if I can, I'll post that little section up somewhere so you can, maybe remember that you've already answered this question before in the past, and it's been associated with you. But anyway, for real, back to the event. That was, to my knowledge, the end of the awkwardness. The panel eventually ended, and I was off to a signing I had afterwards. I then went to several other schedules of event planned for the day of the con. I wasn't until much later that I was told that the young man was asked to leave for asking if traps are gay. When I asked what happened, I was told he had upset several con-goers with the question, so he was asked to leave. Was it the best option? Probably not. I would be lying if I hadn't thought about it often. As a teacher, especially one who taught what the schools considered troubled youth, I believe strongly in second chances. I would have liked to at least have talked with him about why he did it, or talked to why those who were offended, to come to some conclusion that wasn't so final. Why didn't you then? It's your con, for crying out loud. You call the shots, but instead you let TB take the reins, and he got him ejected. All you had to do was log into Twitter and look at what TB was doing, and it would tell you everything that was going on at that point. And I'm sure that may not have crossed your mind, but I'm sure somebody would have probably told you if you asked who ejected him to figure out who it was. Then it wouldn't have taken you very long to get onto Twitter, find him, message him, and say, "Hey, talk to me, bro. Let's figure out what's going on and get you back in here." But no, you didn't. You were silent. You didn't even bother with it. And then you're talking about it months later. And the problem is, because you've let it stew and let people know that it bothered you, it is now going to be a meme directed towards you for years to come to get under your skin because you didn't address it then. You didn't nip it in the bud back then. That's where the mistake is also. So you can't fault people who are going to use it to get under your skin at this point because you've already let them know that it will. But let's continue. Because here's the real truth of it. A young man made a joke to get a reaction, and people reacted negatively. No, they did not. Some people reacted negatively. That one chick, TB, you. I mean, heck, you didn't react at all. I mean, I guess that could be negatively at this point because you didn't try to do anything about it. He misjudged his audience. And what was funny to him was not funny to others. I understand his anger and his outrage more than most would too. I've been him before. I too, as a comedian, have made jokes I thought were hilarious that then out of anger just out to anger some people. I didn't understand why. I was convinced I had done nothing wrong, but with time and reflection I realized I had. To get why I got the reaction I did. There is a time and place for everything, and in that moment, at that time, it was the wrong joke. I had no connection to the audience, to my fan base, or to any video series, podcast, or anything I have done. I was a random internet meme used to comic effect that actually turned out to offend. Yes, real people were really offended. Let's not forget about them. So the reaction he got was negative. What is funny of a forum to a select few may not be the best of comedy for a large crowd. You live and you learn, and you accept the consequences of your actions, just like I have accepted that because my name is on the con. Some people are just going to keep harassing me about this for years to come, and because they think it is a good laugh. Let's go on. First off, he misjudged the audience? No. You, on the other hand, have misjudged your audience. Apparently you have forgotten where your audience lies on this kind of stuff. They find that funny. A lot of them do. A small subsection of your audience may not. But that's the funny thing about jokes and comedy. For somebody who claims they're a comedian, you don't seem to understand that jokes are subjective. What may be funny to these people may not be funny to these people. There are people who enjoy things like dark humor. There are people who don't enjoy dark humor. Regardless of whether or not they're the majority or the minority, really doesn't matter, really. But the point of you not understanding your own audience, I guess, is more of a better point at this. You're throwing this at him as if he didn't understand the audience. That it has no connection to you when it does. You've done it yourself. You have asked the question. You have answered the question in the past, years ago. It has happened. It has been associated with you, along with just about any other meme that has ever become fresh and popped up too. Because that's what you do. But as for putting it on this guy, going, he misjudged the audience. No, you misjudged your audience. That's why your audience, the people who went and the people who didn't, created such a backlash over this. Anyway, no matter what happened, I always stick by my team, the con, and its workers. They have been incredibly hard-working jobs and have run the con every year. It compared with some of the best for its management. They made a very hard judgment call that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I know they took no pleasure in it, but understand I support them completely and will continue to support them in 2018 and for all CoxCons to come. That was a lot. Yeah. Predictable, I guess, in this way. You're going to stand behind the people there, that run it, and that's fine. You can stand by them. But the person who honestly got him ejected was TB. What you needed to do was go take a chill pill, man. Chill. It was an internet meme whose fifis got hurt. I'm sorry they got hurt, but I'm sure he means nothing bad about it. Or I don't know, actually go find the guy and talk to him, and maybe he'll explain to you the same thing I've explained. Oh, you've done it before in the past. It's nothing more than a meme. I just wanted to hear you, strike up some banter and say something stupid about it. I don't know. The crowd obviously enjoyed it. They thought it was hilarious. Otherwise, they wouldn't have laughed the way they did. But, you can't please everybody. And if you're going to sit there and let the minority make up the rules and make them to where, it's like, don't do anything that would offend this minority over here, you might find out that your con gets smaller and smaller to suddenly all you have is that minority coming and it can't stay afloat. That's the real thing to really look at it like this. What should have happened is you should have took charge the second you found out. You should have asked questions. What happened? Who did this? Why was this guy ejected? Bring him back. Get a hold of him. Let's figure out what's going on. Because this guy paid money to be at your con. He didn't do anything majorly disruptive. He didn't go out and start beating people. He wasn't drunk walking down the thing, doing whatever, drunkards would do, or doing anything of that nature that would be something to really throw somebody out for. He asked a question. To be honest, an innocent one. An innocent one that somebody took offense to and started crying because their fifis just aren't strong enough to handle such an innocent question. A question that wasn't even directed to them. This could have been a completely different story if this guy had asked whatever her name is, are traps gay? Then you could possibly go on this whole transphobic angle and make it somewhat stick, because then she's a transsexual who could actually try and make that argument. But if the joke wasn't directed at her, that argument doesn't even hold water at that point. To be totally honest, if I was to ever go to a CoxCon, it would probably to do the meet and greet Q&A and everything with you and Dodger and TB, and that's about it. Everybody else, I don't care what they're doing because I'm not a fan of theirs. Like probably most of those CoxCon goers. They're fans of the big four. Not everybody else who appears on your podcast. Or does things with you. But, yeah, I guess that's about all I got to say on that. I'm really disappointed at the whole thing, to be totally honest. It could have been handled so much better. And if anybody who could have handled it, I'd say Jesse should have been able to handle it with no problem, especially with his teaching background. But instead, he decided to run from it and stay silent, hoping it would blow over. And that's why it wouldn't blow over, is because he was so silent. He didn't do anything to rectify anything. Somebody's fifis got hurt, somebody got ejected, and all the people are seeing from it are like, Holy snap, have you gone full SJW on us? What the heck? Why would you do that? You're Mr. Internet, as you said it yourself. You know these things. But you let somebody else get ejected by somebody else because of it. And you didn't do anything to try and rectify the issue. And now you're saying words months later to rectify the issue after it's done. Honestly, I'd say it's probably a little too late at that point. People know it's going to bother you, so they're going to use it every chance they get. They're going to sit there and ask you, are traps gay? And you can respond with an actual answer, but if it's not a yes or a no, they're probably going to still respond, but are they gay? Or something like that, just because it's going to get under your skin. But that's about all I got to say on this. What do you think? Think it's a bad move? Do you think he waited too long to say something? Do you think he probably should have took care of it when it happened, if it was such a big ordeal at that time? Do you think that maybe he has misread his own audience at this point? Let me know down in the comments below. Till then, I'll talk to you later.
What up, dude? So, me and a couple friends were having a discussion about this at the bar last night. Are traps gay?
What?
Are traps gay? No, genuine question.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.